Hey everyone, I'm Sybil and I'm 24 years old. Have you heard of kitten fishing? It's a real thing, and before I tell you what it is, and how I kinda hooked up my bestie with my boyfriend, make sure to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. So, kitten fishing is kinda like diet catfishing, and by that I mean it's light on the lying. It's not completely making up a person, but it's still being misleading. This all started when I heard through the electronic grapevine that my ex had gotten married, and it kind of gave me an existential crisis. It seemed like everybody was having kids or going on honeymoons or just generally coupled up. Except for my friend Kiera, who didn't mind being single. I asked her one time if she was as miserable as I was. She just shrugged her shoulders. Sometimes you've got company and sometimes you don't. I had this theory that I shared with her, that every single woman has her wedding planned by the time she's 12. I know I did. I knew the color design and how he would propose. I imagined us settling down in the suburbs. Well, Kiera didn't plan anything in life that way and didn't even know who he was. She described dating as a major time suck. Her philosophy was that having a boyfriend was icing on the cake. She was a photojournalist and busy. She traveled to all kinds of locations. She believed relationships formed organically, and I admired her confidence. Truthfully, I didn't have an identity like that. I was interning with a law firm while I was studying to be an attorney, but I wasn't even sure I wanted to finish. The whole lawyer thing was my dad's idea. I didn't hate it, but marrying the perfect guy was on my agenda. And I always figured I'd drop out once I met the one. But that didn't seem to be happening. I guess I was getting more desperate. And I thought maybe Kiera and I could team up to encourage each other. If she put more time into dating, we could find her a perfect match, and she could eat all the icing off the cake she wanted. She agreed, and we made a pact to help each other. I declared by this time next year we'd both be engaged. That night after I went home, I did some research and devised a rollout plan for Operation Engagement. I updated the profiles on all my dating apps and accounts. This is kind of where my first lie comes out, but I promise I didn't think of it as a lie at the time. See, I read this article that suggested some guys were intimidated by successful women, and it listed lawyer as the most intimidating profession. So I changed my occupation to waitress on my profile. I really didn't think it was a big deal. But Kiera didn't seem to understand why I would want to be with a guy who was intimidated so easily. I found that there was going to be a speed dating event this weekend. When I told Kiera we had to go, she thought it would be lame. I told her how imperative it was to play the numbers game. I figured we only had a couple of months to find the one if we wanted to meet our target date. Kiera thought we might have more fun if we went dancing. But I insisted on speed dating first, so she agreed to come. I met all kinds of loser dorks, but I also met Jacob, who was perfect for me. On paper, he was exactly what I wanted. He was 2 years older than me, so his age was ideal. He wanted a stay-at-home wife and a family. He owned his own business and was super successful and wealthy. Ka-ching! And physically, he was perfect too. He was a snappy dresser and had a smile like a movie star. The dates are only 3 to 8 minutes at these events, and with some guys, those 3 to 8 minutes seemed longer than 9 innings of baseball. But with Jacob, they went by in a flash. Operation Engagement was now Operation Jacob. Before our first date, I ran into a snag. Kiera was over at my place helping me pick out what to wear, when Jacob started texting me, mentioning all these books. He asked me if I liked to read, and I said sure, even though I couldn't remember the last time I actually picked up a book. He was spouting off all these titles I didn't know, and when he asked me who my favorite authors were, I was at a loss. Kiera saw me freaking out and said it sounded like he enjoyed a good mystery, so I should put down some mystery writers and relax. Well, I couldn't think of any, and I begged Kiera to give me some names. She gave me a look, but I told her it would be fine. I could read the books later. She texted him names, and he got really excited. And she was stuck talking to him for nearly an hour while I put my outfit together. It felt like I had gone pro with my dating experience because now I had an assistant, or at least that's what it felt like. The date went great. There were definitely sparks. He was falling in love with me, and I knew it would be just a matter of time before I'd be Mrs. whatever his last name was. Jacob and I were getting along great. We were seeing each other all the time, and he even introduced me to his friends and parents. I was in. I started looking at wedding dresses online and learned there was this quasi-famous fashion designer who was showcasing a bridal line, so I made plans to attend. But at the last minute, Jacob wanted to talk. He said he had something important to tell me, and it was good news. I didn't want him to know that I was already checking out wedding gowns. So I asked Kiera if she could chat with him while I went. I had to twist her arm to get her to do it. I pleaded and promised to return the favor, and eventually she agreed to help. And I was able to have my cake and eat it too. I'm surprised that I didn't think about having an assistant earlier. After the event, Kiera called me and told me that my plan was working. And she thought that Jacob was getting really serious about the relationship. A few weeks later, Jacob told me to wear something nice because he had a surprise for me that evening. We pulled up downtown, and I had a feeling we were going someplace fancy. But Jacob gave me a blindfold and told me to put it on. When I put it on, I was already rehearsing how I would accept his proposal. I imagined that he would reveal himself in front of a horse-drawn carriage on his knees with a diamond ring glittering in the moonlight. I would accept, and we'd live happily ever after. But when I opened my eyes, I was staring at this dumpy old dance hall that looked like it was ready to be torn down. "Ta-da!" he said. And then he pointed out the marquee that read, "Annual Swing Dance Competition." What in the world? I thought. Swing dancing? He started telling me how in love with me he was, and when I told him that I loved swing dancing, he knew that he found the one. He wanted me to be his swing partner, and he knew that if we could dance together, we could do anything together. I didn't know what to say, so I excused myself to the restroom and called Kiera, who couldn't believe she forgot. Forgot what? I asked. And she told me that when she was chatting with Jacob the other night, she kinda sorta forgot she was supposed to be me, and she told him that she loved swing dancing. She didn't think it was a big deal, but she didn't realize that I had zero rhythm and hated dancing. Maybe I could fake it, I thought, but when I got on the dance floor, I accidentally poked Jacob in the eye and stepped on some girl's toes. I tried to copy everyone's moves, but I looked like I had been zapped with a cattle prod. And my dancing was so bad that Jacob thought I was purposefully making fun of him. He walked out, and when I followed him, he asked why I didn't just tell him I didn't like swing dancing. He felt like I had lied to him. And that's when I realized maybe I had lied, even though I wasn't trying to. He told me that when we talked, we seemed like we were made for each other, but in person, we didn't seem to fit. I realized then that it was Kiera that was the perfect girl for Jacob, not me. When I admitted everything, he said I had to be myself if I was going to find the perfect match. I wondered more about who I was, and I realized that I defined myself by whatever guy I was pursuing. So maybe I didn't really know who I was. It's so important to be yourself out there because everybody else is already taken. If I spent more time being honest with myself about who I was, rather than trying to be an unrealistically perfect date for an unrealistically perfect guy, then maybe dating would be easier. I told Jacob that I knew the perfect dancing partner for him. And that's the story about how I hooked up my bestie with my boyfriend and decided to just be myself. Have you ever tried to be someone you're not? Tell us about it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.